Baruch Spinoza was a 17th century Dutch philosopher who approached human emotions as if they were a mathematical problem. He didn't believe our feelings were random or mysterious. Instead, he argued that they followed the same natural laws as everything else in the universe. He wrote his most famous work, Ethics, in the style of a geometry textbook, in which he analysed emotions like anger, fear, and love with logical definitions, propositions, and proofs. Because of this, Spinoza didn't see happiness as a matter of luck, a fleeting emotion, or a reward from the universe. No, to him, happiness is the experience of increasing mental clarity. It's the freedom that comes from no longer being confused by life, understanding how reality works, and gaining control over your own mind. This way of thinking is called rationalism, and it's the idea that reason and logic are the best tools for understanding the world. Instead of reacting to events or hoping things will get better, a rationalist tries to understand why things happen. Spinoza believed that the more clearly we think about our experiences, the better we can understand our problems, learn from them, and avoid unnecessary suffering. So, in this video, we're going to talk about how to be happy from the philosophy of Spinoza. Number 1. Equate God with nature. In Spinoza's time, just like today, people imagined God as a giant invisible king sitting outside the universe who judges your actions, gets angry, grants wishes, and occasionally bends the rules of physics to perform a miracle. But Spinoza questioned this. He suggested that religious texts were written by ordinary men, not dictated by the divine. He even doubted that humans had immortal souls and argued that God wasn't a personal figure sitting up in heaven judging our actions. And because of these beliefs, he was expelled from his Jewish community in 1656 when he was just 23 years old. But instead of fighting back or begging for forgiveness, he calmly packed his bags, changed his first name to Benedict, and moved on. Baruch, or rather now Benedict Spinoza, was able to stay calm while his life was falling apart because of a 3-word Latin phrase that forms the bedrock of his entire philosophy. Deus sive natura, which translates to God or nature. You see, for Spinoza, God isn't outside the universe pulling the strings. God is the string. God is the universe itself, the laws of physics. It's the movement of planets, the changing of the seasons, and the endless chain of cause and effect. That infinite, interconnected system is what Spinoza called God. Nature and God are not two separate things. They are indeed one and the same. He argued that nothing in the universe happens independently. Think of reality like a massive line of falling dominoes. Every event is triggered by a specific past cause. Take a normal day. You're late to work because there's traffic. The traffic built up because an accident happened. The accident happened because a driver was distracted, and they were distracted because their phone rang. If you trace this chain reaction back far enough, you realize that every single moment is entirely the result of the moment that came right before it. Because the previous causes were already set in stone, the final outcome was completely guaranteed. There is no room for alternate possibilities. He actually used geometry to explain this. The internal angles of a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. The triangle doesn't choose this, it's just a fixed, unchangeable rule. Similarly, events in the universe don't happen by chance, they follow strict, unchangeable laws. Since God and nature are the same thing, God isn't a person making choices or changing things. God is those fixed rules. Asking why God didn't make the universe differently or wishing for a different outcome is like asking why God didn't make a 4-sided triangle. It doesn't make sense. The universe just is what it is. The universe does the only thing it can do. Everything from a thunderstorm to spilling your morning coffee, it's all just the next domino falling because of countless past causes. Happiness only starts when you stop taking the universe personally, accept reality for what it truly is, and stop wasting your energy on things you can't change. Number 2. Acknowledge your core drive. If the universe operates on an unbreakable chain of cause and effect, where do you fit in? What's the point of doing anything at all if it's all predetermined? Spinoza observed that everything has a built-in drive to keep existing. A stone naturally resists being crushed. A plant will twist itself around a brick wall just to reach the sunlight. He called this driving force conatus. For humans, conatus goes beyond basic survival. It's the underlying momentum to increase our vitality, our capability, and our power to act in the world. It's the drive to thrive. We think of happiness as some finish line, a destination that we reach once we get the right job, buy a house, or find the perfect partner. But Spinoza saw it differently. He argued that joy is the feeling of your conatus succeeding. It's the sensation of your personal power and clarity growing. Sadness, on the other hand, isn't just a random bad mood. It's the friction you feel when your drive is blocked. It's the feeling of your capability shrinking. So let's imagine it's a random Tuesday night and you've got a couple of options. Option A is some high-end networking event. You think it's a smart career move, so you go. You spend 2 hours forcing small talk and trying to impress a bunch of strangers. Now, you might gain a few business cards, but you come home feeling completely hollow. Your mental energy is depleted, and your power to act just shrank. Option B is skipping the event to go to a demanding martial arts class or swim hard laps for an hour. In the moment, it is physically grueling, but when you walk out of the gym, your mind is quiet. You feel sharper and better equipped to handle whatever stress hits you the next day. Your capability increased. Your conatus grew. This is what it means to audit your life. Look at your habits, your work, and the people around you, and ask one direct question. Does this make me more capable and energized, or does it shrink me down? When you focus on actions that genuinely grow your capability, happiness isn't a target you have to chase anymore. It happens on its own. Number 3. Shift from inadequate to adequate ideas. Spinoza argued that we spend most of our lives operating on what he called inadequate ideas. You can think of an inadequate idea as looking at the world through a keyhole. Because you only see a very small part of the action that's in front of you, you miss the larger chain of events that's causing it. You judge the event only by how it makes you feel in that moment. Imagine you're in a meeting and a co-worker insults your project. If you rely on an inadequate idea, you make it all about you. We get angry and hate people because we assume they had the absolute free will to do the right thing and maliciously chose to do the wrong thing just to hurt us. You spend the next 4 days obsessing over the interaction, and your power to act in the world shrinks. The way out, according to Spinoza, is shifting to adequate ideas. This means using logic to understand the real mechanical causes behind why things happen. You stop looking through the keyhole and you open the door to see the entire room. When you apply an adequate idea to that coworker, you step back and look at the facts. Why did they lash out? Maybe they're terrified of being laid off, or they're dealing with private stress. According to Spinoza, people are just the sum of their biology, their traumas, and their past experiences. They didn't choose to be a villain in your life because of who you are. They're just another domino falling. If a dog bites you because it was abused its entire life, you'll learn to stay away from it. But you don't hate the dog. You know it's just acting out of its conditioning. Similarly, when you trace a person's toxic behavior back to its root cause, you realize they're trapped by their own history. And with that, the emotional sting disappears. That doesn't excuse harmful behavior, and you still have to set boundaries, but you won't hate them forever. This exact same shift in perspective dismantles negative passions towards yourself, like regret. Regret is one of the most draining emotions that we can experience. You look back at a failed relationship, a blown opportunity, or terrible financial decision, and you torture yourself with the same thought. I should have known better. I should have made a different choice. But Spinoza argues that this entire thought process is just an illusion. To believe you could have made a different choice is to pretend you were a completely different person at that moment. Based on the exact information you had, the specific stress you were under, your past biology and triggers, and the precise way your brain was working on that day, you made the only choice you could possibly have made. So given that identical environment and physical and mental state, you'd have made the same choice 100 times out of 100. You couldn't have done anything else because the specific conditions required for a different choice simply didn't exist in that moment. By looking at the actual mechanical reasons behind why people act the way they do, or why you made a past mistake, the situation simply stops hurting. You stop wasting your mental energy on being angry about things you can't change. Instead, you keep a clear head, learn from the facts of the situation, and stay in control of how you respond next. Number 4. Cultivate active joy. Spinoza divided all human emotions into 2 categories: passions and actions. Passions are feelings that happen to you because of an outside trigger. If someone praises your work and you feel great, that is a passion. If your car breaks down and you get angry, that is a passion. When you live your entire life through passions, your mood depends completely on whether the outside world decides to be nice to you. And that makes you a puppet. Actions, on the other hand, now those are emotions generated entirely from the inside. They happen when your mind is working on its own power. Imagine you spend weeks pouring your energy into a project and you finally publish it. If you live life through passions, you spend the rest of the day slamming refresh, praying that the numbers go up, desperate for applause. If people love it, then you'll feel joy. But Spinoza would warn you that you didn't create that feeling. The audience handed it to you. And that means that you're a hostage to their opinions. It also means that if your next project gets ignored, your confidence will fall even further because your happiness is entirely dependent on external validation. Now imagine approaching that exact same scenario through actions. You put the project out there and the reception is terrible. If you're operating actively, you step back and use your reason. You realize that maybe the timing was bad, or maybe the core idea just wasn't explained clearly enough. You map out the exact causes behind the failure. The moment your mind stops being a victim and starts problem solving, it takes back control. This simple act of using your reason to clearly understand reality is what Spinoza called active joy. So how do you practice this active joy on a daily basis? It comes down to training your brain to stop waiting for the world to reward you. Regularly do things where the action itself is the only reward. If you go for a swim, don't time your laps or track your heart rate. If you read a book, don't do it so you can sound smart in a conversation later. Do it to engage your mind and body, not to impress an audience. Secondly, start treating daily frustrations like mechanical puzzles. When a deal falls through or someone cancels plans, your default reaction is a passion. You feel rejected. To practice active joy, you have to catch that feeling and immediately step back. Ask yourself why it happened. Maybe their budget was slashed, or maybe they're just overwhelmed by their own life. The moment you force your brain to shift from "I am a victim of this" to "I logically understand why this happened," you replace the feeling of helplessness with the satisfaction of a clear mind solving a problem. Finally, start measuring your days by capability, not outcomes. We usually judge a good day by what we received. You made money or someone complimented you. But you didn't control those outcomes. Instead, at the end of the day, ask yourself, did I handle stress better today? Did I think clearly? Did I respond to an annoying situation without losing my temper? If you want to be happy, start judging your life by how well your mind is working rather than what the outside world is handing you. Number 5. View life under the aspect of eternity. Spinoza said we need to learn to view our lives sub specie eternitatis, which translates to under the aspect of eternity. We get stressed by our daily problems because our field of vision is narrow. Think about what happens when you get terrible news like going through a breakup or taking a financial hit. We panic and the problem feels huge because we're only thinking about the short term. We're only looking at a tiny fraction of reality, not the big picture, and certainly not the infinite chain of causes behind it. Spinoza believed that to see things clearly, you have to use your reason to force your mind to zoom out and look at the whole picture. Try looking at your current problem not as a crisis happening today, but as just one moment in your entire lifespan. Then zoom out even more. Think about it in the context of the next century, the span of human history, and eventually the timeline of the entire universe. When you look at your life from the perspective of eternity, you realize that life is short, and you're just one necessary link in an infinite chain of cause and effect that's been running long before you were born and will continue to run long after you're gone. From this zoomed out perspective, that business failure or that ruined plan is no longer some tragic, unfair deviation from how your life was supposed to go. It's just one microscopic domino falling exactly as it had to set up whatever happens next in the universe. Once you accept that you're a small part of a much bigger system, your everyday worries become much easier to handle. Number 6. Achieve the intellectual love of nature. Spinoza believed the ultimate goal of his philosophy was a mindset he called amor de intellectualis, which means the intellectual love of God, or the intellectual love of nature. To Spinoza, love is a deep, unbreakable acceptance of reality, exactly as it is. Think about how we normally live. We spend our time fighting with reality by making if this then that deals with ourselves. We say things like, if I hit this financial goal or if my boss praises me, I will finally be happy. We treat the present moment like we're in an annoying waiting room waiting for a better future, always looking for an external reward to give us permission to relax. Achieving the intellectual love of nature means to stop attaching your peace of mind to external outcomes. Imagine you just spent 6 months rebuilding a business, and today is launch day. If you're operating the normal way, you're terrified because your happiness depends entirely on how the market reacts. You need immediate sales and external validation to prove that your hard work was actually worth it. However, if you're practicing amor de intellectualis, you still put in the exact same amount of hard work. You still care about the quality of the business, but you look at the launch logically. You realize that whether the project succeeds or fails today depends on a million falling dominoes that you do not have control over. The state of the economy, social media algorithms, timing, and so on. Practicing the intellectual love of nature means you accept reality without any bitterness. When your mind grasps this, Spinoza says you enter a state of blessedness. It means you work, build things, and participate in society. But the desperation is completely gone. You no longer need the market to validate you, and your plans don't have to work out perfectly for you to feel at peace. You aren't just surviving the chaos of life anymore, waiting for a future wind to save you. You're calmly observing the world, participating in it, and finding a quiet joy simply in the fact that you understand your place within the whole. And that's our video. So what did you think? Is the universe an inevitable domino effect of causality? Is free will ever really free? And does that even matter as long as it feels free? Let's see if we can figure it out in the comments. But until next time, as always, I've been Dan, you've been awesome, and if you enjoyed what you saw or found it helpful at all, why not check out our full Philosophies for Life playlist? And for more videos to help you find success and happiness using beautiful philosophical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.